As it turns out, Ms. Marvel was heavily influenced in part by the way that Sony handled Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Miles Morales. So let's talk about why Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige was reluctant at first, but the directors convinced him that this was the way to go, and ultimately everybody agreed it was the best choice and course of action. So right off the bat, there is more connection between Miles Morales and Ms. Marvel than one would think. Obviously, both were invented and came out in the same period for Marvel Comics. It was that post-2010s time where during the course of the next 3 to 4 years, Marvel Studios would start to age characters upwards and introduce new versions of these characters played by, well, different characters. Ms. Marvel became Captain Marvel, the Ms. Marvel name got handed down to Kamala Khan. Spider-Man Peter Parker ended up dying in the Ultimates. Miles Morales, a big fan of his, ended up taking on that name. Again, they're just two of many, so there's plenty of examples out there. But that's not the only connection. As it was recently revealed by both of the directors of Ms. Marvel to Deadline, they were trying to take elements of Kamala Khan, her fanboy elements, and how the ideas and thought bubbles and things she has in the comics would translate over into live action and not look too weird, too out of place, and too strange. And the directors went to Kevin Feige and said, look, if you watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, when Miles Morales is doing his thing, he's talking about how he's hearing the voices, and we see the thought bubbles pop up and the little things happening around him. And they said that this is a really cool way to show how his mind is working and also use the imagination of somebody younger whose mind is working overtime and try to explain it like that. So they wanted to play with that, and once they put it into the story and once they played with those elements and how it looks, Kevin Feige came to them and said, this works. It's different than anything we've done in the MCU. It fits the character. It feels just like it does in the comics. And her imagination being a big part of it is who Kamala is. So the way it can be displayed in an animated film is the same way we can display it in this, but we just use the reason that it's her imagination running wild. And that way it made sense for the story. And it tells you exactly when her imagination is running wild because it has a unique style to it, just like Miles in Spider-Verse. And this is one of the things that really works with me. And they said that one thing that Kevin Feige said was, don't go overboard with it. Don't use it every 5 seconds. Use it when it really matters, when it feels like it works for the story. And I think that's honestly genius, because it would be easy to come up with something like that and overdo it, and then it becomes almost harmful to the product. Ang Lee's Hulk, to me, is a prime example of this. Having scenes that transition like their comic book panels was awesome the first 2 times, but then doing it every time, it really got boring, and honestly, it really ruined the film for me, on top of many other things.